This is my Hankscraft humidifier Model 240. This over here is basically a Hankscraft Model 241, but it's got a Montgomery Ward stamp on it. But I believe it was built by Hankscraft Gerber. But it's the same exact build and same thing, excuse me, as the Hankscraft Gerber brand Model 241. However, this one, the tanks on the on the Gerber are 1 gallon tanks. This one actually holds 1.5 gallons. It just sits a little higher, and the watermark is a little bit higher. So, but this one here, this is my baby, but taking it apart so much has caused some issues, and I'll explain what they are. This video is a thorough breakdown, cleaning, repair, maintenance, and put back together detail for these humidifiers. So let me just remove the, see there's white in the bottom of this, which indicates mineral deposits over a period of time. I have used it for a couple of months this winter so far. It's been such a mild winter that I haven't really had to. So the first thing you want to do is flip it upside down and take out the flat blade screws off of the screen housing. So we'll go ahead and do that. I've only got two, one here and one on the opposite side, because the other two holes have stripped, and that's one of the issues that I wanted to mention. And it came from tightening these too tight, which really wasn't very tight at all. But these things, that's probably the only issue this humidifier has, is if you tighten these screws too much, they will strip out their holes very easily. Just lift off the screen protector, or the screen housing, or the impeller protection housing, whatever you want to call it. Now, before we get started, I want to mention these are what gives these humidifiers this classic sound. You hear that? That's what it sounds like when the water's hitting it too. This plastic is hard. It's a different kind of plastic than most of today's plastic that is used. For example, I don't know, like this little Dollar Tree toolbox. This kind of plastic here is kind of soft, but it's very brittle. Maybe a better example would be something like this. This is also a very soft kind of plastic here. these drawers that hold the parts. The casing is very soft, brittle plastic. But this here was hard. A lot of toys were made with this kind in the late 60s and 70s. And it's still good enough to stand up to the test of time, sure. They'll never wear out. They'll never stop working for cutting water into fine vapor. You know, the only thing that really happens to these humidifiers is the motor becomes rusted, poorly maintained, and loaded with wear in the bearings, and they'll rattle out and become very noisy, and they'll start to vibrate. The reason for this is lack of maintenance, lack of cleaning. So let me just put that there. This here, my impeller, seems to come off fairly easily. Let me just give it a good pull. There it is. That was very easy. Now what happens here, over time, the impellers they'll accumulate a lot of mineral deposits and lime, and it can collect on certain areas while other areas don't have it. And what it does is it helps create an imbalance of your spinning, which increases stress inside the bearings in the motor. And that also aids in motor wear, or helps it progress, actually. This is a very old motor. This is the original kind of motor that was used in the first production of these, and I believe the Ohio Vapor Master had the same motor. This one is pretty thick compared to the newer models. Have a thinner motor inside, made by a company called JKL. And JKL motors are okay, but they, you know, it started happening when DeVilbiss took over and started to build things trying to save $1. Things changed. Vibration was more rampant in the gray models of these that came out briefly. DeVilbiss tried to save $1, and they weren't as good. I had one at one time, and I was very disappointed. It didn't even have the same sound because DeVilbiss used the soft plastic rather than this hard stuff here. So the next thing we want to do is, there's a screw here, flat blade, and there's another one like it on the other side. Let's take those out. And here we have it. We'll just pull some cords so we have some room to work with, and I'm going to disconnect these wires. I'm going to remove the wire nuts because mine happens to have a night light, which I built into it, and it's not necessary. It really isn't. When it's pitch black in the house, you might not be able to see these things, but you can pretty much tell where they are by hearing them. So, we have that disconnected, and some room to work with. Now right here, I have a broken screw hole. and the plastic piece that where the screw threads into is broken off completely. So one screw has been holding this cord tie, or the knot, into place, but we want to remove this piece. And it is also flat blade. Okay, take this out. There's one more screw right here underneath the nozzle. We'll go ahead and remove that. That's not too bad, just a little bit of dust, little hair. We have, well, there's a total of 4 cats in the house, a puppy, and we have a rat. So this is a nightlight that I bore a hole through the shell, and this is black hot glue, which is very, very hard. It's sort of like epoxy at the moment. It hardens up very well. This is a 10 millimeter purple LED, or a blue LED, I'm sorry. And it's just hooked up to a resistor. And the resistor cuts the AC current down enough to not blow the LED. It's just a 3-volt LED operating on 120 volts AC. So anyway, this is your motor housing, and it's got white dust, of course, and needs to be cleaned off. This is a piece of plastic that, if it's not here, or if you take it out and throw it away, this spout will not pick up water correctly. It'll try to guzzle up too much at one time, and it'll become flooded in such a way where there's no motion inside this vortice. So you always want to have this ring inside here. That's very important. And if it won't stay, you know, you can cut out a piece of soft plastic, a circular piece, and just drill a hole in the center of it and then press it in, and it'll snap right in. But these things always get clogged up with algae. That's what this is. The sort of looks like lint. It's just algae and mineral buildup and dirt. It's mixed with dirt and dust. It looks worse than it really is. But right here is very important to keep clean too on this area. You want to gently remove any mineral deposits that build up on this so that they don't build up and cause an imbalance in the spinning, which will wear out your motor bearings quicker. Last but not least, we want to remove the motor from the housing base. And the best way to do this is right here on top. This nut driver is too small. I need a bigger one. Excuse me a second. Let me try this one. Perfect. Just take these off. Now, this is very important. When you take these off, keep in mind that around the bolts, there's going to be some washers and spacers. Don't lose them. If you have a newer model, you will notice that there are no spacers between the motor and the housing. The motor will pretty much be just resting up against the plastic. But this is the oldest motor, and there are some metal spacings in here that space it the right amount. So we'll go ahead and pop this off. There goes the washers. So let's just be sure to keep those in all one place. All right, and there we've got it. It's the motor. We are going to clean this up and get the hair off of it. I am going to disassemble the end caps and clean them out, and we're going to re-oil them. And I'll show you a good way to do that too. Everything looks good. Very, very good. You know, these motors can last 100 years or more if you just maintain the bearings. Most people don't know this. And a lot of companies out there, they lubricate these for life. However, you know, they don't tell the customer to perform maintenance on it. They make customers believe that they can't service these things, but you can. If you take care of something very well, it's going to last you a lifetime, as in your lifetime, as opposed to the lifetime of the product. So anyway, yeah, we'll remove here. Let's just do this while I've got it in my hand. We'll take these nuts off with a smaller nut driver, counterclockwise. This also has washers that you don't want to lose. Be sure to keep those. We can loosen these top ones too, but I prefer not to because they just pull out. No, they should pull out. There we go. That's all it takes. These two, just leave them in there. Do not take them out. Because if you do that, you're opening up a can of worms for setting your spacers right again. Anyway, as you can see here, there are there's copper stress points inside around the center shaft housing. There are ball bearings. There's ball bearings inside this container. And what we'll do is dump some oil in there. And we're just going to use some good old-fashioned, either one of these will work. We could use liquid wrench, machine oil, which is definitely good for stuff like this. Or we could use some high viscosity penetrating firearm oil, a gun lubricant. This will work well too. And they'll both last just as long. So, and I would only do this once a year. These things are not meant, you know, they're not meant to be disassembled every month. The best way to perform a cleaning is to get a can of air and blow it through the vents from the outside the best you can. And blow it up through, you know, just not taking it apart too often will help save its life. As far as structurally, it'll save its life. Otherwise, you'll have to jerry-rig and find ways to hold certain parts together. So the next step is to gather all these pieces together, and we're going to take it to the kitchen and wash the hell out of them. But before we wash the other the Hankscraft. Why don't we take a look at the Montgomery Ward? Let's disassemble this. Now, I bought this for approximately $3 and some change at New Horizons thrift store here in Canyon City. Now, when I turned it on, see, here's your water pan right here. This one will hold 1.5 gallons before it runs out of water. Now, when I turned it on when I first bought it, it had these original type impellers inside of it. Okay, but it was vibrating so badly and it was so noisy because of the way that it was maintained that it was just completely shot. You couldn't turn it on and keep your sanity. So I decided to take the impeller off and check the motor. The bearings were completely toast. It's almost as if they weren't even existent. Yet the coil on the motor still worked. These motors that Nikola Tesla invented are absolutely amazing. And these were invented in the late 1800s. But they were in a round, much bigger form. And it was before there was a constant, reliable source of AC current. Now, they were compacted into a small square type motor in the 50s and 60s for other uses. But these motors are perhaps the longest lasting motors in the world. They don't have brushes. The only thing that powers it is an electromagnetic force current, which pushes this wheel around at 3,000 to 4,000 RPMs. So anyway, all of the parts in this one are intact. This impeller right here came from, it came off of a newer model Cause, and it was a small humidifier with a blue top, and it put out very little mist. In fact, you could probably run it in a bathroom and not even tell that it was working, because they build these newer models so crappy that it's just ridiculous. You know, if I'm going to use a machine like this, I want it to have some output. Now the old one was guzzling a whole tank of water in a matter of between 8 and 10 hours, even on the low setting with the nozzle down all the way. Since I put this newer motor on, it'll last 24 hours before I have to refill the tank. And I kind of like it because you can still hear the famous sound, plus you're getting your moisture. So let's go ahead and take this impeller housing off here. These screws are in much better shape. There's nothing stripped in this one. This has a little bit of dirt. Has plenty of yellowing. But of course, back in the day, you know, this color of plastic in these type of appliances was very common too. So we'll wash that out. And This impeller, you twist off the funnel like that and it just comes right off. Look at all the algae in there. That's horrible. How gross. If I remember right, I had to drill this hole. To fit the shaft of a brand new motor. And this motor in here, bearings are awesome. They're great. So, but I had to drill it in order to fit it on there, and I pounded it on with a hammer. So this one is going to be difficult to get off of here. I'm not even really so sure I want to, but we will, just for educational purposes. So first we'll just take these little screws out here. You have to kind of angle your flat blade outward because they have a tendency to go into the impeller. So I'll just take these little guys out. As you can see, this motor doesn't have any spacers. They made the plastic thicker on this to come up and seat the motor where it needs to be. And all newer models did the same thing. This isn't a very powerful motor. It's only 3,000 RPM. But it's just enough to get the action and the sound that these things are famous for. So we'll go ahead and pull out some slack here. I'm going to pull this housing off here. Not too bad. It's just a little dusty. Here. Okay. We'll go ahead and remove our wire nuts. And this motor is also from the same humidifier that I bought new. It was like $20 on Amazon, or $29. Just a little cause humidifier. You know, if you're good at drilling holes perfectly centered, I would advise using a drill press and getting it centered perfectly. Otherwise you might have an imbalance problem. But if you're good at that sort of thing, I would recommend, instead of buying a separate motor and using a bad impeller, just go ahead and buy a brand new, like a cause humidifier, the impeller type, and get the motor and impeller out of it and use it in your Hankscraft body. Let's get this one off here. A little bit of okay, now we'll go ahead and see, getting the impeller Oh, but this one's gonna be tough. I have to admit, I'm not looking forward to it. What we're gonna have to do here is it's a rather unpleasant task. Hell, I'm not even sure. I'm not even sure if the old hammer trick will work on this one. Maybe I can sort of angle it in and then try to... Well, I'll be damned, look at that. There it is. So, okay. So, and this is a good impeller. This is good. There's nothing wrong with these. It's just a newer way of making them than it is with these. Now, these had a tendency to be balanced, you know, within probably 1/1000th of an inch. Perfect. Balanced like a Toyota. These, on the other hand, especially by cheaper companies such as Sunbeam, have been known to be incredibly unbalanced, and but there's ways to balance them too. So anyway, now we can take this our little knot case off here. I might even use interchange some parts from the other one into this one. I like this little one because the tank filling lasts just as long as the big one does, and yet it doesn't blow out so much at once. The bigger ones are designed for a large room, like a living room or a big den, or even the entire house if it's for the most part an open walk-through house. These smaller ones are more suitable for a bedroom. So we've got this, got that, got the impellers, all the fun plastic toys. That sounded wrong. Anyway, we can now take the motor out. Very easy. They just don't make things like this anymore. This stuff here is high quality, and nowadays they're trying to shove everything in such a tiny little space that it doesn't work well. And also, they're using cheaper materials, like these plastics. You know, they're all soft plastic that is flexible and nowadays, and it doesn't produce that wonderful sound known as the whisper. So we have both of these taken apart, so I think for real it's time to take everything into the kitchen and wash it all out. Get us some water going. always use Dawn. Make it as hot as I can stand it. Get it nice and sudsy. Let's just start putting some humidifier parts in here to let it soak. Just a dish rag and a Brillo pad is what I'm going to be using. I'm not going to use the Steely because this thing scratches it all up, and I don't want to take off the stamp on the side. So that's about good. Another thing that won't hurt is to use some Dollar Tree Tile Plus cleaner with bleach. I just spray it in there. Doesn't have to be a whole lot, just that's probably good. I don't get many things from the Dollar Tree for cleaners because there's chemicals they carry there that just stink so bad I can't even stand to be around it. Like Bang, oven cleaner or whatever it's called. I cannot be around that crap. It's awful. So we'll just start scrubbing this stuff with whatever's needed. These, I usually just take a rag, go like that. That's all it takes. Spray a little bleach on this impeller. Now I use this Brillo pad to try to get off the mineral deposits. The main point is just to make sure that it's not crusted up so thick that you can't smooth it down anymore. Not every little piece is going to come off. Now on this piece I can use the Steely to help get some of that crud off of there. Much, much better. I'm going to grab a fork and take off our cap. Just pops right out with a fork. There we go. See? Now in here, it's helpful to have a some kind of pipe cleaner or a tiny brush to be able to shove through there. I wonder if I have it. Let's see. Well, I don't, but as I'm looking in here, I don't see any algae, but just in case, I will kind of scrape it with a wire tie, and the ridges on the side of the wire tie will help break up anything that's on there loose to get it out. You can put it through these holes here too and try to push through any algae that might be caught inside there, and I don't think there is. But it's, wire tie is a good zip tie. That's what I meant to say, zip tie. There, so that's pretty clean. I'll go to the screen. We don't have to use anything on the screen housing except a rag. I usually take my finger, put it inside the rag like that, and gently go around like this. To get any dirt that's in there. Just wipe these down gently. It's good. Nozzle. Now this nozzle that came with the Montgomery Ward is severely discolored, and I'm curious if, no, that's not gonna, is that the bugs? Okay, I just went in my room and got a Dollar Tree pipe cleaner for the impeller, so we'll go ahead and do that a little bit. These work a little better. Put them in the side holes too. In case anyone doesn't know, this thing spins at about 3,000 to 4,000 RPMs, and it sucks water up this spout and throws it out these holes, and this plastic disc throws it out even faster, and the water hits this screen in here so hard that it just breaks it up into a fine vapor. Screen housing here. I love doing stuff like this. I think it's very therapeutic. Very nice. I'm using the steeler to get this lime off of the black plastic. That's good. It's good enough. Now here's the other impeller. We're going to do the same thing here. We're just going to put this little pipe filter in there and go up and down and scrub it out. Get all that algae and funky garbage out of there. This one is very clean. This one really doesn't have any buildup at all. So we'll just rinse these off now. This little cap here, all we need to do is just dip it in there and rub it with the finger and thumb, rinse it off, stick it in a silverware strainer, good enough. Now we'll start washing the housing. Just scrub it good with a rag. That's all it's going to take. Some instances you can use the Brillo to get off black marks or little scrapes and scratches, etc. But if you're a owner of one of these, you'll notice that the corners always collect to the dirt. So, but you know, in some good dishwater, a rag gets it all out nice and good. So that's good for that one. Kind of get inside this spout a little bit. There we go. Check for black marks. Nothing there. This is absolutely pristine. I just made my girlfriend a little dinner. Kraft macaroni and cheese and some Chinese honey chicken. Delicious. So I had to wash some more dishes, but I sprayed some bleach spray, well, this stuff, in these two. Now I'm just going to add like a couple of drops of Dawn in each pan. Get the water as hot as it will get, and just put a little bit in there so that I can scrub it out with this Brillo pad. That will get all the gritty mineral stuff off of these. Okay, that's hot. Okay, that's good for that one. Just let it sit and soak for a minute. Now we get the little one. Okay, that's good for that one. Oh yeah. See, after I do this, and then I feel the bottom surface with my finger, it's smooth. Yeah, there's no more chemical, or not chemical, there's no more minerals and lime deposits on the bottom. These are not too hard to clean at all, really. All it takes is a good light wipe down. Rinse after each day's use. About every month, it's a good idea to scrub these out a little bit like this, so you don't have to steam clean it later. I think we can use the rag at this point. So we'll go ahead and finish washing the top of it. Just give the outside a little scrub with a Brillo. rinse this off. That's good for the outside. Now we'll just do that. A little bit more here. Give it a final rinse with cold water, because in hot water, that's where you're going to find most of the minerals for some reason. Maybe it's because of water heater buildup, I don't know. This is smooth, yeah. It's just, it's squeaky clean. Time for this little guy. You know, it would be pretty cool to have a hangout partner, a friend, just hang out and do stuff like this, build or whatever, but I don't think I know anyone in this town that likes to do that. This one has a few black marks on the outside of it, but a Brillo like these yeah, the Brillo takes it right off. Still marked $2.99 as is. That came off. All right. I'll rinse this out. There we have it. So, got all this stuff drying here. I'm not going to wipe it out with a towel. I'm just going to let it drip dry. And then we'll take it to my desk and put them back together. Okay, so we have the motor for the big one here. I'm just going to take a dry Q-tip and sort of just wipe it around the edges of this thing and get between the coil and the metal to knock loose any dust and stuff that might be in there. And just sort of, you know, run it around like this and get all that hair, anything else that's in there, off. Works just fine. See, it's already clean. So have that. Now this here, it's got a, I'm 50 years old and I don't know the name of these things. It's like a stopper. Well, it could come off with a pair of needle nose. Let's see. Try to get it better this time. There we go. And all it does is stop the impeller from going up the shaft anymore. So we'll wipe the shaft off a little bit and then take this off. You got a set of washers here. These are just spacers, so we're gonna leave those there and grab our bearings. And really, just blow them out a little bit, get any dust out of them that might be in there. And we'll take some of this fine household lubricant, and we're not going to drop this through the middle hole, but around it where the copper pieces are showing. Put a drop in there, a little bit over here. And I'm just going to sit here and do like this, very slowly, to help get the oil in there and inside this canister. Shake it a little bit and put some more in there. Doesn't take much, and it'll go a really long way. So we'll let that one sit for a minute. Now we got this one. Trying to shake it down a little bit. And I just oiled this thing last year. And the last time I used it, it was still very quiet and operating very smoothly. So, but it will, if you do these things to maintain it, it will always operate beautifully. Okay, so we have that. I'm just gonna put a dab of oil around these washers a little bit, or spacers, I mean. Put one down here, put one here, here, and here. There we go. That's plenty. Probably more than enough. Well, you know, when you do this stuff, it'll help keep your motor very quiet. I mean, it depends on what you like, I guess. I mean, some people like a noisy, rattly humidifier for sentimental purposes or whatever, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, there's nothing wrong with that at all. I have another humidifier that's pretty noisy, and sometimes if I'm in the mood, I'll break it out just to sleep too. All right, now that that is in there, we're going to figure out which one is the top and which one is the bottom here. I thought they were marked. They could be identical. It might not make a difference at all. Let's see. Yeah, this is, I believe this one here is the top or bottom. I don't know. So I'm going to put a drop of oil on the inside of the shaft hole and just work this shaft in there in a circular motion. There we go. just like that. Kind of spin it on into place. And then we'll put another drop right on the shaft and just work it in again. Oh, that is smooth. Oh yeah. There we go. Now we will we'll just put this through here, and I'll put a drop on the end of this one here, and we'll just work this one on. There we go. See, this end doesn't have a hole because it is well, it sits like this, so I guess this is the bottom up here and the top of the motor is for the shaft or whatever. So alright, now we'll get this screwed back on as soon as I find out where the bolts went. Okay, got them. So we'll take our little washers and put them on the end, just like this. Each side has a washer, each side of these spacers, and then we'll put these down through here in the same way that these are, so that the spacers are on this side. These kind of screw back in a little bit. Okay. All right, let me get the housing. Okay. Now, it's just going to rest through those 4 holes like that. And then we can put our washers back right here. I believe I'm missing one washer. Let's see where it might be. Sorry about that. I think I might have actually been missing that one washer for quite some time. Probably even the last cleaning that I did, it might have come off, but it's not severely important. There's rubber spacers underneath here anyway, so we'll go ahead and put these back on the nuts here. I didn't get all the white off of the housing, but it's a pretty thin layer, and it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. Not too bad anyway. We're not going to tighten these too much. There's no need to. Just until they're all 4 of them are nice and snug. That's all it needs. Just a little bit of snug. That turns very freely and nice. That's very good. So our motor is oiled, cleaned, and set back into place. Okay. So now we have 2 washers to put on this side of the motor. Holds that cap on the end there. And then we'll tighten those down. Those could be a little tighter. Very good. Okay. I'm not going to bother with the night light. You really can't even see it because it's the housing in this humidifier is black, and it just stops a lot of the light. So let's get our pieces back up here. All right. In fact, I'm just going to clip these off right there and call it good. Let's see. Now, if you notice this, all right. First of all, and this tricks a lot of people, and they have a hard time getting this back together right, but it's actually very simple. All of these vents are the same. They look the same. They're identical, except for one. One of them has a hole in the top right corner like this. Now, put that hole to your left. You put it on your left. So the hole is to your left, and the square end you want facing away from you. That's how the housing sits into place. And at this point you can go ahead and screw the housing back to the shell. Very good. It's tight enough. Next step. We'll put our cord through this hole from the outside. Right here. And then pull it in from the inside. Like that. And where it's all kinked up, just tie another knot. There we go. Go ahead and put this up here, and we're going to wire these together. It does not matter which wire goes to which. It really does not matter. that one. Make sure they're still nice and firm and not nearly broken. There we go. Very good. Now we can take this and put it through the little knot housing there. Then we'll stick our cover back on. Good enough. Flip it over. Set her down. There she is. That's good. Nice and good. At this point, we are ready to put these end screws, or housing screws I should say, back into where they go. No need to over tighten, just nice and snug. There we go. We almost have it there. Okay. Now, this impeller can go ahead and be placed back on the motor after I get this thing back on there. I wonder if I could just push it off. There we go. Yes, that's good. Now we'll set it back on there. I need to plug this in. I'm going to make sure there's no vibration. Can't really feel any vibration. Okay, so that's good. Now, our little orange piece, the end cap, it's going to be set back inside there. There we go. All right, we're good. And at this point, we are ready to put our screen back on. I forgot which holes are stripped. Oh, that's holding good. And so is this one. Very good. That's all it needs. Could be slightly tighter. That's much better. There's our beautiful, cleaned up, maintained, oiled, and freshly done baby. It's ready for a fill and enjoyment overnight. Plug it in here. Oh yeah. That is so quiet. This is what they should sound like if they're well maintained. Very good. Now it's time for the Montgomery ward. Small hole here to the left. And square part away. Now, put the screw down here in the end. This one's much simpler to assemble and disassemble. We'll go ahead and run the cord through since I have it right here. Tie us another little knot. There we go. Now, yeah, because this here just, there's no spacers on this motor or anything. You know, and this motor's in such good shape, it's practically brand new. I mean, if we really want to do something, we could always just put like 1 drop of oil on the top shaft and turn it a little bit, move it up and down like that, turn it a little bit. Same thing on the other end, if it has an end, which it does. There, we're good. This motor's just fine. So we'll put it right back here on the housing base where it goes. It's tight enough. Now we're ready to wire it up. Check the wires to make sure they're firm. Very good. You know the best part's still on the way, right? Where it's sitting here filled up with water and running. But I already have a 10-hour video of that, so don't be too spoiled, huh? Okay, there we go. Now we'll put the cord back in its little deal there. There. Put this cover back on. All right. This one. Had to find the other screw. Here it is. Good enough. Pull this through, flip it over. Make sure the wire's shoved inside there. Beautiful. Okay, now this impeller, we're just gonna it's about right. Twist this part back on. Plug it in and no vibration whatsoever. Absolutely stunning. Okay. And it's ready for the screen. I'm getting ahead of myself. Did you notice that? First we got to put the little end screws back in hold on this motor housing base. It wouldn't have technically, I mean, these screws, to hold it together, these screws aren't necessary, but they are necessary to keep the water vapor from getting into the housing. Because they sort of hold it down against okay. Now we're ready for this. That's gorgeous. Okay. No vibration whatsoever. Just as smooth as can be. There you have the complete disassembly, cleaning, reassembly, and maintenance. And now I'm going to fill this one up and get it running. We're ready to try our vaporizer. Here we go. Working great. Absolutely flawless. I appreciate you watching. I know this was a long video, but I felt I had to be thorough. In case I missed anything, let me know either way. But it's fun. You know, and humidifiers and stuff like that aren't the only thing I do. Sometimes I'll work on automotive, light stuff, nothing too heavy. I like machetes and hunting knives and equipment and sharpening them. And I like tents, camping gear, survival gear. I'm into a lot of that. And electronics. I have a lot of components, and I like to make schematics and build little things. For example, this is a push-button LED light for a tent. These are 2 dry cell AAA batteries. It has been on like this constantly for a month. And it's only designed to be bright enough to see what you are doing in a tent. And I'm absolutely marveling at the fact that it's been on for a month and still just as bright as it was. I can't imagine what a pair of Duracells would do in there. So anyway, until next time, I don't know what I'm doing next. Maybe if anyone has a suggestion of some sort, help me out, because sometimes I get creator's block, if you know what I mean. Be blessed. Have a great day.